Assalamu alaikum viewers and welcome back to Prime Live, introducing to you The Mighty Watermelon, a heartwarming children's book about a beautiful blessed land and a tiny watermelon along with her friends who must face the threat of the blue bulldozer. Self-published author, podcaster and radio extraordinaire, the talented Safeera Kaka, this enchanting story inspires hope, emphasizing the power of prayer, presence and patience and overcoming challenges. This charming illustration were done by Jehan Arakonat to bring these characters to life, while the book's proceeds will go towards therapy resources for children in Palestine through Gift of the Givers Foundation. Join us as we delve into an inspiring conversation with a media legend, Safeera Kaka. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for joining us on Prime Live.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You're very, very kind in your introduction, but it's such an honor to meet you today as well this evening.
I mean, it's such a pleasure for me to be able to introduce you, to be able to have this conversation with you as, you know, a stalwart in the industry of media. It's such an honor for me to be able to have a conversation with you. I mean, women like me have looked up to you for such a long time, so it's an honor to be sitting in this position and sitting in a completely different shoes. I mean, as an author, and at that, a self-published author. But before we get into the nitty-gritty details and the challenges of having to be a self-published author, can you talk us through the inspiration for the book, The Mighty Watermelon?
It's been 1 year today where we commemorate the genocide in Gaza, 1 year and 75 years of the genocide. And like everybody else, Nazia, I'm sure you can resonate with this. Our consumption of media has changed. Our outlook on life has changed. Our understanding of what do we answer, or how do we answer having seen a genocide unfolding live on our phones. And it was always playing on my mind. I'm a writer, but I'm a secret writer. My notes app is filled with little stories. And my little niece, her name is Fatima Zahra, we call her Poppy, and she absolutely loves reading. And I thought to myself, how do I tell her the story? But I also want to preserve her innocence. I want her to understand how important Palestine is to us as Muslims. But I don't want to, rob her of her innocence, and I want to inspire hope within her. So I write this little story, and one of the first scenes that develop in my mind is this really feisty little watermelon, like my niece, sitting under the olive tree, and she talks to the elder olive tree, and they talk about this beautiful land that they live on and how the prophets of Allah used to walk on the land and talk about the Mi'raj. And this whole story just starts to develop in my mind, and I think to myself, okay, I'm going to write it and I'm going to share it with my nieces and nephews. And I actually shared it with a close friend of mine. Her name is Fatima Ilyas from Mufti's Bookshop. We share a love for reading, and we do an on-air book club on my show. And she's like, Saf, you should share the story. My husband was encouraging. And it was almost like a vulnerable moment when you share something like so intimate like you're writing. And to me, it was always, I never felt good enough as a writer, and I thought, how do I share this? And then I just re-evaluated my intention. And my intention was to share the love of Palestine with children, to engage their imaginations and to engage them with subject material that's age appropriate. And from then on, I think when intentions are pure and good, it just happened. Things fell into place, alhamdulillah. I went for Hajj and I made dua for my book on Hajj. And alhamdulillah, I can't believe this moment is here. I was driving to the studio and I said, this is such a surreal moment for me. I can't believe I wrote a book. I published a book, and the book is now available for children to read. Alhamdulillah. It's only through the grace of Allah.
Absolutely, and congratulations on that. Firstly, I want to start by saying this is such an incredible undertaking, what you've been able to produce and achieve with this book. I think a lot of parents out there resonate with exactly with what you're saying, is they want children from a young age to be able to understand the history of Palestine, to be able to develop that love and support for Palestine and understand which side of history you're supposed to be on. However, even as an adult, for myself, I find it very difficult to navigate the gruesome images and the gruesome reality that Palestinian people are undergoing on a daily basis. So I cannot imagine having to be a parent, being able to explain that to a young child. So I really commend you on undertaking a project like this. I think you've made it so much easier for parents to be able to navigate telling their children about Palestine and the importance of what Palestine means to us as Muslims, but also the importance of being able to stand up for humanity and teaching them to always stand up for what's right, which is something that's so important for young children. So thank you so much for putting something like this together. I think we are all very thankful that we have this beautiful resource to be able to look back on. And something that a lot of people admire about this book is not just the beautiful story and the vulnerability you shared in your writing, but also the beautiful illustrations that we see in the book and the characters that people are resonating so well with. Talk us through the inspiration for the characters and these beautiful illustrations that we're able to see in the book as well.
So the book has my name on it, but I think the book came to life by me engaging the illustrator, Jihan Arakonat. She just got it from the word go. We were always on the same page, and the amount of work that went into the illustrations. The book is very deeply metaphorical. So for children, they'll just see it as a story of this tiny watermelon who has to be brave and has to rely on prayer and patience and perseverance. And for adults, they'll understand all the themes that I've inserted into the story. But as layered as the story is, the illustrations are so rich and so beautifully done. The amount of work Jihan has put into this in terms of her doing research, the antagonist being the blue bulldozer, is actually modeled after an actual IDF bulldozer. The Tetris patterns on that it's on each of some of the pages. You'll see this beautiful Tetris pattern. The Tetris pattern where she becomes the mighty watermelon actually has swords, and the ones that talk about the land has vines and fruits. So it's really, really rich. It's very layered. It's very, very, very carefully thought out. And honestly, Nazia, this book would not have been possible without Jihan. She has poured her soul into this, and she's poured her heart into this book. And I think it really shows. And I just want you guys to all sit with your kids and point out the little patterns and that to them and see how beautifully this was done, alhamdulillah. So I think it's 50% me and probably 40% me and 60% her who has put together this beautiful, beautiful book. It's truly a labor of love.
They do say it's all about those little details and the finer details that are able to bring across the energy, the passion, and the story that you want to convey to your readers as well, especially since your readers are so young. And the thing with kids is they're very detailed orientated and they pick up on the little things that we as adults tend to kind of pass over and miss. So I love that you've been able to do that. In the beginning of the show, we talked about the power of collaboration and how incredible collaboration can be in terms of bringing ideas together and bringing projects together. And this book is absolutely an epitome of that. You know, the collaboration between you and Jihan to bring together this masterpiece of storytelling and illustration. And I love that you both have played such a heavy emphasis on illustration because kids are so visual. They are such visual learners, and if they don't remember the words, they'll absolutely remember the pictures and they'll absolutely see the bulldozer and they'll of course remember the mighty watermelon as well.
Absolutely.
Now, being a self-published author, I mean, being an author isn't an easy thing at all. And that's why I have so much of respect for people who are able to wear their heart on their sleeves and share their writing with the world. It is, like you said, a very vulnerable experience. And being a self-published author, I'm sure, comes with its own set of challenges. Can you talk us through navigating those challenges of becoming a self-published author? I know there might be a lot of people in the audience who also maybe are passionate about writing but haven't quite gotten there yet to the point where they are comfortable enough to share with the world.
What an incredible journey. Self-publishing is not for the faint-hearted. There are a lot of challenges, as you rightfully pointed out, in the journey. I think it's challenges. You've got to do a lot of the funding yourself when you're self-publishing, and you have to do every part of it yourself. So it was basically myself and Jihan in collaboration, in discussion. And another interesting point about this book is that we worked on 3 different time zones. So I'm based in South Africa. Jihan is from Singapore. She's based there. And our editor, I worked with a professional editor, was based in Nairobi. So we were navigating 3 different time zones. We were navigating, again, how do you make the story appropriate for children? How do you also make this a story that will stand the test of time? And also, how do you convey the story in a way, we're not Palestinians, we have not experienced what they've experienced, in a way that is graceful, in a way that is respectful to their story, to their lived experience rather. So it was challenging. I promise you, it was not an easy journey, but it's very satisfying when I see a child pick up the book and pick up on something that we've discussed for hours, and they pick up on that little detail, and I look at it and I say, we did it. Alhamdulillah, we did it. To advise to anybody out there, everybody has a story. Everybody has a narrative. Everybody has something to share. It's time we own our own narratives. We cannot rely on the authors that we grew up loving. We love to read, they have clearly shown where their allegiances lie. So it's time for us to pick up our pens, write our stories, the artists to create art within our communities, the business and the entrepreneurs to show us viable alternatives to mainstream businesses that support the genocide. And in order to do this, you have to have courage. You have to go, an idea will remain an idea, and it will become somebody else's idea, and they'll take on that idea until you have the courage to take the step and say, I'm going to do this. And be fearless and just do it. What's the worst that can happen? I estimated, okay, maybe 100 people will buy my books, and it'll be that, that's it. I'm at a point where I'm running out of books, alhamdulillah. Get out of your comfort zone and take that step. It's so rewarding and it just requires a little bit of courage, a little bit of perseverance, and a lot of patience, which are actually themes in the book itself.
And I love that those very themes are the themes that we are learning from Palestinian people. I mean, when we look at the hardship and the adversity that they undergo on a daily basis, it makes our life problems seem so minute and so small. And yet we see them resilient, we see them strong, and we still see them smiling. And I love that you've chosen to capture those very themes and those very lessons we are learning from them as they undergo such hardship to this day, 1 year to this day. And let's not forget the decades of oppression and genocide that's been inflicted on them in the years before as well. But what I also want to talk about this evening is this is also not just an amazing book that is a resource of information for young children, but it is also an amazing project and initiative. The proceeds from the book are actually going towards the therapy resources that are being provided to Palestinian people by Gift of the Givers. So can you please tell us more about that? And then also another question we're getting a lot from our viewers right now is they want to know where can they get their copy of the book. I know you're running out of books, but we have a lot of viewers at home who actually want to get their hands on a copy. So please also share that details with us.
Before that, you touched on a beautiful point about lessons from the last year from the Palestinian people. And a beautiful concept in Palestine is called the concept of Samud. And a secret just between you and me and the listeners is that to me, the little watermelon who becomes the mighty watermelon actually represents the concept of Samud. So think about that when you're reading the book. The next question was, of course, giving back. We will not profit off somebody else's pain. And a portion of the proceeds from this book will be going to children, specifically who have been evacuated from Gaza. They're currently in Sinai. And for me, mental health is extremely important. But in a hierarchy of needs, mental health is not high up there. But hopefully, inshallah, we will try and get them the resources, the therapy that they need, whatever it means and whatever it entails. Obviously, it's not going to erase what has happened to them, the horrors that have been inflicted on them, but in some way to give back to the Palestinian people. Because once again, it's not about profiting off anybody's pain. It's about using this as a stepping stone or means to help those that need it the most, to give them a voice, to never let their stories die. This book is dedicated to 3 little girls, and the one story that struck me a lot was Reem, Soul of My Soul. So it's dedicated and it's in their memory. Their stories will never die, and we will continue to support the Palestinian cause until Palestine is free. And we will do whatever we can to support Palestinian children with whatever resources that we have. So hopefully, inshallah, this book will be a means of assisting them in whichever way we can.
And in closing, how do we get our hands on the mighty watermelon?
Wow. The Mighty Watermelon is currently available on my website, safeera.co.za. Alternatively, there are stockists in Durban, Wonder Books and Beit al Hikmah, And there's little pickup points all over the country. You know, women are so amazing. Everybody just banded together and they said, Saf, I'll be your pickup and I'll be your pickup. So to save on your courier costs, which the cost of living is quite expensive and the book was very costly to make, try to keep the cost as low as possible for the book itself. But there are pickup points all around South Africa at the moment. I'll keep updating it on the page called At the Mighty Watermelon on Instagram, inshallah.
Okay. Safeera, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Once again, it's been such an honor for me to be able to sit down with you and have a conversation with you. It's a very pinch me moment to have an opportunity to interview you. And thank you for sharing with us. Thank you for your courage to bring this message forward. Thank you for the storytelling, for the narrative that is constantly going to be there. The stories of the untold stories of those children will forever be remembered in the characters and in the stories you've portrayed in this book. So thank you for bringing power to the voices of Palestinian people and also bringing power of information to young children all across the world. So thank you so much for joining us. It has been an inspiring and very insightful conversation.
It's been wonderful chatting to you. Thank you for inviting me. A quick quote to end off with. History will always favor the lion, the hunter, until the lion learns to write. And this is the lion learning to write.
That was very beautifully said. Viewers at home, that was Safeera Kaka. I mean, I am equally inspired as I am excited to be able to read the book. So please do head over, reach out to her on the social media platforms if you would like any further information. As she said, there are many drop-off points and there are different places where the book is actually being stocked. So reach out to her, or if you are near any of the stockists or any of the drop-off points, you can absolutely reach out there or go through to her website. It is absolutely so important that our young minds are educated on the importance and power of Palestine. So do reach out to her on all her platforms and let's keep bringing power to the voices of Palestinian people. On that note, it is time for us to head over to an ad break and we'll come right back.